Hello, sweet friends. The dogwoods are in bloom right now here in East Tennessee, and I'm feeling a little in bloom myself. I'm having good days more than bad days. I was in a very burnt out and also simultaneously in a very depressive pit of despair. And I'm still working, still healing ways that I've hurt myself and ways that I've hurt others. But I feel like myself again. I feel refreshed. I'm just feeling very connected to and grateful for myself. And I want to talk more about the real stuff. I want to at least share my journey vulnerably, share my experience, and connect with community and spread love and healing wherever I can. So today I want to do an overview of my experience with burnout, both as a content creator and just as a human being navigating this wacky world. I hope you take care of yourself while consuming this content. Drink some water, take some nice deep belly breaths. You can pause the video and come back if your body needs something. It will still be here. Thank you for watching. Let's get into it. I've finally, for the first time in what feels like years, I do not feel burnt out, and that is really revolutionary for me. I thought how I was operating was my norm when really I had strayed so far away from myself, was not taking care of myself, was not aware of how burnt out I was. And while I can't say I'm completely healed and will never deal with burnout again, because I do deal with it in little ways, like every day, but I feel like I'm enough on the other side of this big season of burnout that I can talk about it a bit more objectively. Okay, bye, Rayla. Oh, she's going to lay down on the floor. Nice and cool. But I feel like I can talk about it with a bit of a wider lens after some reflecting and processing. And I'm going to talk about my experience with burnout, both in general, just as a human in the world, and then also as a content creator. And I was going to edit this part out, but I decided to keep it in because it shows me in real time kind of getting really in my thoughts and realizing how fast my thoughts were going and that I needed to take a little breath and close my eyes and just rock back and forth a little and be with myself until I was ready to say the next thing. I do not know if any of your all's experiences with burnout and burnout management healing will reflect my own, or if anything I say will be helpful, but I hope it will be to some of you. I just want to share my experience and my full authentic self. So with that, sip of water, and then we'll talk about what burnout feels like. Life-giving. So I kind of made my own journaling prompt yesterday as a means of like outlining this video. So I titled it My Burnout, and then I listed some questions. What does it feel like? What are some sources of it? What heals it? What prevents it? And what are some unhealthy coping methods? So I'm just going to read my initial answers that I wrote down and then expound on those, and they're not always complete sentences. Sometimes they're just phrases, but I hope it can still get something across. So my burnout, what does it feel like? To me, it feels frazzled, like a frayed rope. So much noise, but none of it clear, all static, no substance. So tired, but can't relax. No motivation, lots of anxiety. So in general, that is what burnout feels like to me. And then on the other page, I wrote ... as a content creator ? So I kind of wrote down what it feels like in general for me, and then specifically like as a content creator, what it feels like for me. So, frazzled like a frayed rope, so much noise, but none of it clear, all static, no substance. That's goes deep. I feel that. As a content creator, burnout feels like I want to stream or create something, but I have no energy to do so. Constant ideas, can't seem to actually start. Feel like a husk after streams or like a session of creating. Anxious/reactive to online comments and numbers. And just from reading the sources of my burnout, I could feel a little stress in my body, so I had to take another little pause. And this actually turned into me sitting and reading and reflecting and breathing for a couple of minutes to myself, but I'm not going to show all of that. I would also add that when I'm burnout, everything is overwhelming in a very anxious way. I feel like sometimes things can be overwhelming for me in a very sad and depressed way. So that is something I wanted to mention in this video, is that while I have dealt with like long-term burnout, once I peeled back the layer of that burnout, I was very depressed and had been ignoring that, pushing that down for a long time. And I'm still kind of processing and parsing through. So when I'm talking about burnout, there might be like trauma or ADHD or depression, like bits overlap here. But that's just, my experience, and I can't have one without the other because that's just been my experience with it. So after some reflecting, processing, healing this burnout, what are some sources of it for me? In general, some sources of feeling burnt out for me are pushing through my capacity, ignoring stress, problems, feelings, a productivity mindset, seeking validation from external sources, brain always moving, body rarely moving, and tuning out my body. I have no more to add to that specifically. So as a content creator, some sources of burnout are feeling the need to be constantly on. That's Mary back there. Hi, Mary. Oh, he's gonna lay in the window. There's my boy. So as a content creator, some sources of burnout for me I have noticed are constantly keeping up with streamer or content creator social media and discourse. That's a big one. Comparing myself to others' content and successes, and comparing myself to the external validation that others receive versus the external validation that I receive, whether that be in comments from viewers, other creators, or whether that be numbers, views, donations, things like that. Another big source of content creator burnout for me are long streams or creation sessions with few breaks and not checking in with my body and really listening to my needs and acting on my needs. This last one, source of content creator burnout, always brainstorming, always thinking about the next goal. I feel a big source of creation burnout for me around seeking validation from others, from external sources. It's more that I was not receiving validation from myself first. I had ignored a lot of stress, problems, trauma, mistakes I made. Ignored, pushed down, or just internally really beat myself up over, and just have such a harsh, serious, sad inner critic track going all the time instead of slowing down and reconnecting with myself and taking steps to build confidence and peace within myself so that I can source confidence and validation from myself first and not need it or not feel the weight of it so much from others, whether that be positive or negative. Oh, and then always brainstorming, always thinking about the next thing. I was just constantly consuming streamer or content creator, either social media or actual content and streams, and trying to keep an eye out for ideas and inspiration for what feels right to bring into my streams. How can I make my streams better? What's this cool event that I can do that could get me to this Twitch subscriber goal and involve the community? And I want to say that I am so grateful and proud of myself for so many creative events and pieces of content and community projects that resulted from this kind of constant striving to do better, be more, keep growing. But I felt like I put the pressure and the expectation on myself to always be focusing on the next event, the next big thing, the next goal. Oh, we just hit 1,000 sub points with that subathon. Awesome. What's the next one going to be where we hit 2,000? Any single thing that I had an interest in, I was thinking, how do I make this into content? How do I bring this to my stream? And part of the motivation for that was to genuinely share my interests and passions with community. And also a huge chunk of it was that productivity and constant need for growth mindset. Another source of burnout, always thinking that I need to do things the same way that I've been doing them. Like just giving myself permission to hike my leg up and sit a little differently, not sit perfectly straight up for a few minutes while recording this video. Amazing. I feel so much more comfortable. So what heals my burnout? This is not an exhaustive list, and this is something I'm eternally learning more about myself, but what heals my burnout? Detaching my worth from a productivity mindset / external evidence of productivity. Practicing quiet, still moments. Consistent reassurance that I am allowed to do nothing except to be with myself, do what feels good for my soul, let go of expectation, and approach life and obstacles with peace. Also listening to my body and my breath. Then as a content creator, what heals my burnout? Transitioning to creating for the love and fascination of the creation process, not a perfect end result. Getting back to my roots, my values, my why. Creating for myself first. Detaching from external validation and grounding in a clear sense of self. So a lot of this I feel like needs a lot more unpacking to fully give context, and everything that I have done to heal my burnout has been in such teensy tiny small steps. And I think that is another important point of what has healed my burnout, is allowing myself to take the teensiest, tiniest steps possible. Also, sleep, getting good sleep, regularly disconnecting from social media and content creator spaces. And I really had to do a long-term disconnect because of how long the stress and the burnout was building inside me. And even before that, I was repressing trauma and a lot of stuff. And for me, I knew that social media and always consuming content, always having some type of noise or entertainment on, especially around streamers, content creation, that was draining the life out of me. But at the same time, I was reliant on it and addicted to it, honestly. And I knew that my self control and willpower at the time was quite low. So I knew I couldn't just tell myself, okay, I'm going to limit social media to these couple hours a day. This hour a day, I can consume content, and these couple days of the week are no social media days. That is the ideal, but I knew that that wasn't going to work for me because I was just constantly scrolling, giving my brain something to focus on so that I wasn't able to focus on my problems and my stress and my reality. So that's some things that have helped heal my burnout. Now, what prevents burnout? Funny enough, what prevents burnout is the same things that heal it. So everything I just said. And also, when I'm in a period of not feeling burnt out, which is a new experience for me, but what I am noticing prevents that burnout frazzled feeling from coming back is noticing when I feel good and what actions helped me get to that spot. Like when I take, this also really ties into healing depression and just the impossible mountain that is like caring for yourself and personal maintenance and hygiene when you're depressed, but also burnout, like noticing, like after I take a shower or a bath, I always feel so just cleansed and warm and new and fresh. But when I haven't showered or bathed and I'm feeling depressed, I forget how good it feels. Just that good cleansed feeling feels so distant, and that there's so many difficult things to do to get to that step of that place of feeling good and fresh. And if you are in that place, I completely understand and empathize, and I send you so much love. Be so gentle with yourself, and yeah, just not pushing yourself to do things or forcing yourself to do things, but like for me, like I said, just noticing when I feel good and what I did to make myself feel good. Oh, another thing that helps prevent burnout is acknowledging and approaching my problems and my obstacles, not avoiding them. And I've been working on this by gradually leaning into discomfort, talking about how I feel, both the positives and negatives, knowing that approaching a problem or an obstacle, even though it's hard, I can do it with love, and I should. And that was another thing I wrote down that prevents my burnout, is talking about my feelings and my needs and my trauma. So in general, that's some stuff that prevents burnout for me. And as a content creator, what prevents burnout for me is taking consistent breaks while streaming or creating. Like in the middle of this video, I had been filming for like 20 minutes or so, and I had a timer that went off. So I got up and stretched, drank some water, had a little conversation with my good friend Mary Jane, and came back up and took a few deep breaths, got back into it, and I felt so fresh and refocused. It can feel like when we pull ourselves, it feels like we have to pull ourselves away from streaming or creating, because if we're not there, if we're not in the chair, if we're not on, then we're missing opportunities for new viewers, for engagement, for content. But what I noticed in myself is that when I've pushed myself through taking breaks and really listening to my body, even though I'm there for the content, I'm not really there for the content. Like I mentioned earlier, feeling burnt out can just feel like being a husk like all energy is drained out of me. And by not truly taking care of myself and regularly taking breaks and checking in with my body, over time that internal stress and burnout and internal clutter just built up more and more and more. And ultimately, I feel like I became so doubtful and anxious and fearful of my content and for interacting with other content creators because I wasn't really taking care of myself and checking in with myself. Another thing that has helped me with burnout is giving myself permission to be my authentic, most natural self, which has been such a process. A lot of these things that I'm listing like need their own videos basically, but I just want to share what I can right now. Something else to prevent burnout with me is meeting myself where I'm at, focusing on my own journey with minimal expectation and maximum gratitude. The last thing, but most certainly not the least, almost maybe one of the most important, but is something that I'm just still working on, is regular body movement. So not just taking breaks, not just stretching while streaming or creating, but moving the body and getting the heart pumping in more ways. So I don't really like terms like working out or exercising just because of the connotations that they have for me, but movement has been a great shift in my vocabulary because exercising or working out, it feels hard already. Like I'm just sitting here saying the words and it feels hard. But by taking these steps to start to listen to my body and my needs more, I am finding myself wanting to move more. And I'm just getting curious about different ways to move, just like dancing to whatever music that I'm playing, going on walks, running around with my dog, being just more childlike and playful, doing guided yoga flows, playing Just Dance. One that I've just started to work into my movement routine. I'm really still finding what works for me with movement. My body's been very, very constricted for a long time. Like I said, I've repressed a lot of trauma and my body's been holding a lot of trauma and then other stresses from other problems and emotions. But as I'm gradually processing and healing my inner self, I'm gradually opening up to moving my body more and just like intuitively, like whatever feels good, just like randomly doing some jumping jacks or flailing the arms around or doing some shakes. I don't think you heard her, but Rayla just groaned and it was very funny. Just whatever your body feels like it needs, do it. Just some little movements can loosen you up so much. And so incorporating more movement, finding ways that my body likes to move slowly, gradually. Again, meeting myself where I'm at, taking whatever size of steps or whatever kind of steps that I need and giving myself so much compassion and grace. And last but most certainly, not least important to talk about, are what some of my unhealthy, harmful coping methods for burnout and stress are. So in general, some of my unhealthy coping mechanisms are escaping into shows, movies, games, YouTube videos, daydreams, without addressing the stress or the feelings, whatever they are, the stress, the exhaustion, the worry, but escaping and avoiding. In that same vein, constant noise / content so that I can't really hear my thoughts, pushing down and powering through, numbing with substances like alcohol, weed, and avoiding or procrastinating the next thing. This is a very like day-to-day specific thing for me. Like if I am doing something, like yesterday, I noticed I was journaling, I was writing about all of these things outside, and I was I was done writing things down. Then I was thinking like, what else could I just do a little doodle? I could write something else, and I quickly realized that I was doing this thing where I linger, I put off moving on to the next thing. And as a content creator, some unhealthy coping methods of burnout for me have been immersing myself even more in the online world and creator culture. Because if I'm not getting what I need, not the inspiration that I need from consuming all this content and being so plugged in with this discourse, I just need to keep up more and watch more and just find the thing that works for me. And wow, that's exactly what I wrote, was consuming others' content to solve my own content insecurities. And another unhealthy coping mechanism with content creation for me is impulsively going from 0 to 100 on an idea without really processing it first. And that's really connected to what I talked about in like the sources of burnout, you know, like always brainstorming, always thinking about the next goal, always thinking about a new emote, a new alert, a new way to edit clips and put them into short form content so that I can reach more people, and constantly thinking about all these things. And then I see something that gives me a glimmer of inspiration, just a little hit of dopamine. I'm like, ooh, yes, okay, gotta follow that dopamine over there. Okay, here I go. Without actually pausing and reflecting on my own values and why I am doing content creation and why I'm wanting to make this emote or this alert or commission this art or whatever it is. But I also have so much compassion for myself and why I did that, because I know I was just seeking love and approval and happiness, and I wasn't giving that to myself like I deserved. So I found the dopamine in other things. So that's just what I've been reflecting on and what I wanted to share right now about my experience with burnout as a content creator. Thank you so much for watching any of this, for being curious about what I have to say, and maybe for being curious about your own experience with burnout, either as a content creator or a human. We all deserve to be loved and taken care of and believed in and uplifted. And I've been finding so much healing and power in giving that love and support to myself first and sourcing my confidence from within me, which has been a very long, difficult journey, and a journey that I am still on and would be happy to share more of and intend to. Yeah, would love to hear any of your all's thoughts, whether you're a content creator or not, about burnout and stress and repressing emotions, and any questions you have. I will be happy to answer to the best of my ability. I intend to be back with more videos soon. For now, be kind to one another, put some good into the world, go with love, and always remember to grow at your own pace. Bye for now.